You're watching Dante's Boxing Nation. Boxing Nation.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? You know, I told you guys going into the Golovkin versus Monroe fight in my prediction video that Monroe had the type of style that would slightly expose Golovkin and basically drop that invincible meter down a couple notches. Well, that's exactly what we saw in Golovkin's last fight. And apparently it's not just me who saw the fight that way. Because the fact that Carl Froch is now interested in getting in the ring with Gennady Golovkin, it suggests that he obviously seen something in that Willie Monroe fight. Well, today Carl Froch, he basically said that if he fights Golovkin, he's going to beat him up and he's going to back him up. He doesn't believe that Golovkin's power is going to affect him, with him having to move up to 168. On top of that, Carl Froch is already a very strong puncher. So right now, as I make this video, both parties are in negotiations right now. Hopefully this fight gets made because both parties are interested in making the fight. That's a good sign. They're talking about the fight being at Wembley Stadium out there in the UK. I'm telling you right now, this fight would be huge. And this would be a big step up for Gennady Golovkin. This would be a big step up for Gennady Golovkin. He's now dealing with a B-level type of opponent for the first time. And I say Carl Froch is a B-level fighter because a lot of people actually have Carl Froch in their top 10 pound for pound. He's at least top 15. One of the best fighters in the world, I would say. So this is a big step up for Gennady Golovkin. And I truly believe after watching the Willie Monroe fight, you could pretty much say this is a 50-50 fight. A lot of people would actually lean towards Carl Froch. Matter of fact, after I watched Golovkin Monroe, I actually had people come up to me and say, Carl Froch will beat him. I think Carl Froch will beat him. Now, there's no doubt about it, Golovkin is going to have a lot of problems fighting against Carl Froch. Because for one thing, the massive power advantage that Golovkin is used to having, he won't have that night. Now, this is not to suggest that Golovkin won't go in stronger, because he can still go in there stronger than Carl Froch, but I'm saying the margin. Golovkin won't have the same type of head start that he normally has when it comes to power in this fight. And the fact that Carl Froch is already talking about backing up Golovkin, that's an indication that he already has the blueprint of what he needs to do in the ring. I believe if Golovkin wins this fight decisively, with no controversy, he is the real deal and deserves high praise. Because once again, Carl Froch is not going to be easy for Gennady Golovkin. You know, when I think of Froch versus Golovkin, not saying that Golovkin fights exactly like this guy, but I think of Golovkin versus Arthur Abraham. Because Arthur Abraham, he was this aggressive technical fighter. And just like Golovkin, Arthur Abraham, he moved up from middleweight to superweight when he fought Carl Froch. Now, I know he already had a couple fights at super middleweight, but still, Arthur Abraham, before he went into the Super 6 tournament, he was a middleweight. He only moved up to basically enter that tournament, right? For those of you guys who don't know, Arthur Abraham, he was a beast, okay? The guy was a beast. He had great technique. He was an aggressive fighter, always came in with that high guard, but he was very aggressive coming forward. And what Carl Froch did to him was extremely impressive. Because not only did he intimidate this man, but he outboxed the shit out of Arthur Abraham. And I believe Carl Froch, he's going to do the exact same thing, or try to do the exact same thing against Gennady Golovkin. It'll be very interesting to see how Golovkin deals with a natural 168-pounder with the physical strength and the punching power of a super middleweight. This is a very, very intriguing fight. I really hope the fight gets made. I mean, it's the next big thing next to Golovkin fighting against Canelo or Cotto or even Andre Ward. This is the next big thing. Like I've said on previous videos, we've seen so many fighters that relied on their power. And when they moved up in weight and they fought against a guy who had the same type of power they had, if not more, for the first time we've seen them either get knocked out, either quit, or just not look the same. So it'll be interesting to see if Golovkin could carry that power up to 168. And once again, how is he going to deal with the super middleweight's power, especially a Carl Froch? Carl Froch may not look like it, but believe it or not, the man could box. Not only can he box, but he can fight on the inside as well. We've seen Golovkin get caught with a lot of uppercuts against Willie Monroe. He was getting caught with everything in some of those rounds. Body shots, straight punches. And I know what some people are saying. They're saying, oh, well, you know, when you're fighting against lesser opposition, you probably don't care about getting hit as much. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. Because I watched that fight a couple of times. And I remember specifically in the fourth round, after Willie Monroe caught Golovkin with a couple combinations, Golovkin would actually come in and he would wait before he would attack because he was already anticipating Willie Monroe to attack first. Matter of fact, it was interesting because both Golovkin and Willie Monroe, at one point, they were both doing the same thing. They would both flinch at the same time, expecting the other guy to throw a punch. And they were both, like I said, lay their heads on each other, waiting for the other person to punch first so that they could block and try to counter, right? In other words, Golovkin was really respecting Willie Monroe after Willie Monroe caught him with a couple of punches. Once again, go back to the fourth round and watch that round. You'll see Willie Monroe and Golovkin flinch at the exact same time, expecting each other to throw a punch. So that obviously tells you that if they're doing the exact same move at the same time, then Golovkin, he's not trying to get hit, just like Willie Monroe is not trying to get hit. So once again, man, it's going to be a very difficult fight for Golovkin. I know some fans are going to say, well, Carl Froch, he got knocked down against George Groves. If he got knocked down against him, what do you think Golovkin's going to do to him? Understand, guys, once again, styles make fights. Carl Froch, or George Groves, I should say, he is somewhat of a slickster. He's a slick, aggressive type of fighter. I'm not saying he's Floyd Mayweather, but I'm saying his style is more of a slick, thinking boxer that can be aggressive at times and can box at times, right? That's not Golovkin's style. Golovkin comes in forward. Golovkin is far more predictable than a George Groves, okay? And you got to give Carl Froch a lot of credit because he came back in that rematch and he adjusted. And he looked great in the rematch. Now, myself, I thought George Groves was going to knock out Carl Froch in the rematch. But to my surprise, Golovkin, he went back home, or I'm sorry, Carl Froch, he went back home and he did his homework. Okay, so this style is more tailor-made for Carl Froch than George Groves. That's why this fight is so interesting. So I'll be talking more about this fight in the future. Once again, I hope it gets made. But for now, that's all I got. I'm on to the next one.